And welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast. Now, following on from where we just were a while ago, maybe about an hour or so, it is your Betfred Super League Week 23 debrief, which means there is only a month left in the campaign as it wraps up early due to the Rugby League World Cup in October. But nevertheless, there is still some business to take care of, and we start off with the Warrington Wolves up against Toulouse Olympique to open up round 23 of the Betfred Super League.
This one could actually be an interesting clash-up. I reckon so. Because the rate that Warrington's been playing, they start off stronger, then they fade right out at the end. And Toulouse are they're still a little bit inconsistent at the back end of games. Like, they could go on with the game, or they could, fall off the cliff a little bit.
Well, of course, Toulouse went down to Hull KR, 22 points to 16 at Craven Park, whilst Wigan put the Wolves to the sword at 32-6. But I've got to say, Warrington, a lot more disappointing than Toulouse was. I think it was, for the second French team, it was more heartbreak than anything else. One change made by Daryl Powell, Matt Duffy, has been brought into the 21-man squad in place of Riley Dean. As for Toulouse, missing a host of players through injury, including Guy Armitage, Joseph Paulo, and Andrew Dixon, but he will name an unchanged side that went down to the Robins on the last start.
Yeah, so Toulouse, they actually put in a very solid game. It was I have to say, it was pretty close. It's just at the end there that Toulouse had some poor defence and it was easy for Hull KR to get through.
Rowan Milnes came through at the very much the dying seconds. It was sort of like you were looking at this Hull KR side and the injuries they've suffered throughout the course of the year. No Lachlan Coote. They were missing Mikey Lewis. There was no Jordan Abdul, who's been ruled out indefinitely at this point. They did have Ryan Hall. But it was it was really another makeshift Robins side. But even under Danny Maguire, Hull KR just found a way just to get on top of that.
Yeah, well, you just had to look at a month ago of how well they're performing. They were absolutely nowhere. But now they're starting to get on a bit of a roll. I think, anyway. But whether or not that can continue is a different story. We have to wait and see there.
Yeah, I definitely think that is the case. Of course, Warrington, it has been the story of major disappointment, and the fact that they're now running 10th in a relegation battle, essentially, against Wakefield and Toulouse. This is not where Daryl Powell wanted to be in his first year in charge.
Certainly not. Warrington, they started off, they scored the first try.
And that was it.
Yeah,
because after that, Wigan just went nuclear. That's as simple as it has been all year long.
Yeah, pretty much. They started off Warrington just absolutely die in the arse in the second, or even.
How do you arrest something like that? Just because if you just looked at it on the first 5 weeks alone, you would have thought Warrington were a contender. You now look at it and it's just like, they're now fighting for survival again.
Yeah, I don't think they will get relegated, but if they do, that will be a massive out for the whole competition, really.
Well,
I can't even remember the last time Warrington were outside of the Super League.
They've fought off relegation before in 2017, and then of course Steve Price came in, and in 4 years he got them to a grand final, Challenge Cup victory, and consistent playoff performances, albeit bowing out in the first week of the playoffs.
Still make the playoffs, so it's still a great achievement.
But the list of adjectives, verbs, and otherwise words to describe Warrington, I think you'd have to look at the dictionary to find if there's some sort of synonym you missed out on to describe how poor the Wolves have played this year. Toulouse, on the other hand, it was a bit of an unlucky thing for all of them, especially considering that they had reeled off almost a very good July with 4 wins, 1 loss.
Yeah, it's a very successful month there for Toulouse. They were so close in this one. I think it was converted try in it.
Converted try in it. I mean, 3-game losing run, but the fact that they had climbed out temporarily outside the relegation zone in that time
gives them some hope that they can still.
I don't think they're going to give up yet. And the for and against isn't too bad when you think about it. They only need to score one try and beat Warrington by one try converted to climb back above Wakefield and climb away from the relegation zone.
Depending on the result of Wakefield's game as well, we have to see what happens there.
Yeah, it does. But I think Toulouse will be desperate, and they will, and they. I mean, they all have something to play for, but I think you cannot tip Warrington with any degree of certainty in this.
No way. No way whatsoever.
This is going to be a close one, but I'm going to go again with Toulouse 1-6 to get up here. I think if they can just ensure that they get to the end of their sets, don't knock on just force Warrington to play deep out of their own end, I think they can get away with it.
Yeah, I went with Toulouse as well. I'm going to say in the 1-6 margin, but like they did against Hull KR, they let some very simple tries in with their defence. There was like some massive holes in the defence, which if they want to beat Warrington, they'll have to tighten that up big time. But I still reckon Toulouse will get the win in the 1-6 margin.
Let's just hope we're not left with egg on our face again, or well, for one of us. And anyway, come full time tomorrow morning. Now, we've also got the Casper Tigers up against the Catalan Dragons, and most of these fixtures are very important fixtures. Of course, Warrington against Toulouse is important because of the relegation battle. But at the other end of the table, the top six still isn't set yet, not by a long shot.
Or you could kind of say the top three are set.
Top four are set. The top four are set.
It's just a matter of where they finish.
But in Castleford's terms, top six isn't finalised yet, and they are in a bit of trouble.
Well, yeah, after going down to St. Helens.
And speaking of the Catalan Dragons, their opponents, two big ins in the 21-man squad. Both Sam Tompkins and Mitchell Pearce have been named. Both were missing from the win over Wakefield Trinity, 20 points to 16, whilst Castleford went down to the champions, 20 points to 12.
That Catalan's Wakefield game was absolutely a lot closer than what I thought. Wakefield, and they scored that extra try and converted. They could have won that game. A surprise win, that could have been the case. But they just couldn't quite do enough.
Yeah, no, Catalan were very convincing very early on. I think Fuad Yaha, he was the Dragons' stand-up player from this affair, as well as Archie Morg. First with Yaha, 3 tries, 103 run meters, 2 tackle breaks and 2 line breaks, with his hat-trick try coming from Samasoni Langi doing his best Greg Inglis impersonation, keeping that ball alive after it looked like it sailed dead.
And that was a very, very, very good try, I should say. I don't know how he got there in time to flick it back in. That was unbelievable.
And the other man who had a good game, and he was filling in for Sam Tompkins, Arturo Morg. 156 running meters, 2 try assists, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and 4 from 5 goals converted.
He just needs more game time, Archie Morg, and he can be a very...
Well, he's been dogged by injury this year. I will say that. He has been dogged by a fair bit of injury.
Yeah, which is not good for his young career, but hey, last year when he played a fair bit, he was absolutely on fire.
He was a good player, to say the least. A definite standout in that very dominant Catalan Dragons 2021 side.
Yeah. Well, could that be a turning point for Wakefield if they can give it? I don't know.
Regarding which part?
Well, if they can go on, like if they could give it, like be competitive against a top side like Catalans, could that help them go on further and pull further away from relegation, or was it just a one-off performance? We'd have to wait and see.
It was heartbreaking to say the least because they were up in it in the final minutes of play. The scoreline was a try in it.
Yeah.
If Corey Hall doesn't knock on, and if Wakefield, because he had Fuad Yaha backpedaling, if Wakefield score, not only do they tie it up, but it would give Mason Lino a chance to win the game 22-20. That's how close Wakefield got in the end after Catalan and defence sort of got a bit loose, I think. First with Lewis Murphy's spectacular dive for the try line, and then a simple ball, Matty Ashurst steaming through and underneath the sticks.
Yeah, see, Catalans, I think, backed off a little bit. I wouldn't say.
And having Michael McAlorum in the sin bin for 10 minutes didn't help the Dragons' case either.
Well, I think that was a turning point for him, really.
Maybe it was McAlorum. I'll actually look.
But that sin bin was probably the turning point, allowing Wakefield to come back in with one less player on the field for Catalan to allow Wakefield to pile on points to try and do the unthinkable, come back and cause an upset. But
Oh no, it was Taiki Chan. I probably butchered that a little bit. It was Taiki Chan, and got a yellow carded, not McAlorum. But yeah, just Jamie Shaw going from dummy half. That was going into half time, and then Matty Ashurst and Lewis Murphy gave the home side hope.
yeah,
But just at the very end, they couldn't convert a possible win.
no. Well, unlike Castleford,
They were off the boil from the word go. 50 minutes in, it was 20-0 to St. Helens after the penalty try to James Batchelor was awarded.
yeah. But they did try to have an attempted comeback, but couldn't quite.
Well, they rattled off 3 tries in the space of 20 minutes. So that's not too bad going.
No. So they could have had a grandstand finish, but just couldn't.
Goals let them that down,
Yeah.
and they left it come back a little too late. That was another thing that played against Castleford here.
Yeah. And I thought St. Helens, it was business as normal, back to the winning ways after a few kind of off-ish weeks, you could say.
Off and on the say the least. But this game, a win for Castleford puts them 3 points clear of the Leeds Rhinos until they play in the game later on. But these 2 games here, Castleford Catalan and Hull KR Leeds, are very big games because from 5th all the way down to 9th, there is at least 2 points in it. 5th down to 9th.
Yeah.
Castleford, depending what happens in the Leeds Hull KR game, and then again when Salford and Hull FC play as well, they could have at least a 3-point buffer, albeit temporarily. But if they lose, the table begins to shift again. If Leeds get up, if Salford get up, or if Hull FC get up, and if the 4 against works against them, they're dropping.
It's just so hard to get a read on. It's like over in NRL where they fight for the final spot or a couple of spots in the top 8 all over the place. It's like this, but the bottom 2 of the top 6 aren't set, and just outside.
Yeah, 5th and 6th are still up for grabs, and Castleford's recent form has played against them. I got to give this, and Catalan will remember the last time they were at the Jungle in that narrow 17-16 loss to the home side. I'm just going to say the visitors get up here, especially if Tompkins and Pearce both play. I think they win 7-12.
I'm actually going to say Castleford win this one in 1-6 margin. If they can try and stay with Catalans for the whole of the match, and the rate that Catalan's been dropping off late in the second half, and Castleford is striking this as they'll pounce on that. So I'll say Castleford 1-6.
Well, it's going to be very close indeed. And speaking of crucial fixtures, Hull KR against the Leeds Rhinos is the next cab off the rank. And Rowan Smith only naming a 19-man squad due to both suspensions and injuries. Blake Austin would be available to play in his first game since the club's 62-16 win over Hull FC back in July. But they will be missing Aidan Caesar and Reece Martin due to suspension. David Fuzzatua has also been banned for 2 games. And Matt Pryor will be back next week, serving now the second of his 2-match ban as well. James Donaldson's also out to injury. So Jack Sinfield, Muzzy Mustafa, Corey Johnson, and Liam Tyndall are all named in the side. As for Hull KR, some big ins as well. Mikey Lewis, Ryan Hall, and Kane Leonard all included, but they do miss out on Lachlan Coote again after 2 weeks on the sideline due to ongoing concussion issues. No Albert Vete for the home side, with both Phoenix Lalu Tongagai and Sam Wood both picking up knocks against Toulouse last week, but have been named.
So a few changes across both sides, really. And not a little bit. Not a little, but a fair bit. But
as for the Leeds Rhinos, of course, Hull KR, we just talked about getting up over Toulouse. Leeds putting in a strong home performance against Salford, downing the Devils 34 points to 14.
Yeah. It was fairly, what would you say, a fairly close-ish game, but
Salford choked.
pretty much, yeah. I was going to say, like, Leeds basically never, from start to finish, never looked like they were going to
It was 3 tries to 1 at halftime. You rally back to make the scoreline competitive at 18 to 14. A couple of penalty goals, then 2 late tries sealed the deal for Rowan Smith,
No.
if right then and there. But the length of the field efforts, especially Harry Newman and Ash Handley, hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
The intercept and the long-range effort in the first half. But the soft contact. Reece Martin sliced through like butter through a hot knife through butter, I should say. Got that backwards. And Callum Watkins was just pulled out defensively. He was wrong-footed so many times. He might have been in on a roundabout.
Probably, yeah. And I believe Salford had a stimp in too, which didn't quite help either. I can't remember who it was for, but...
Well, I can bring up that yellow card shortly. But first, I've got 2 men from the Leeds side that put their best feet forward, and definitely a clean pair of heels. Harry Newman first up, 1 try, 109 running meters, 3 tackle breaks and 2 offloads. And for Ash Handley, 1 try, 175 run meters and a tackle break, though I suppose you could count the intercept as a line break as well.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
As for the yellow card, I'm just going to bring...
I'm pretty sure it was the yellow card in this match. I've got written here that it was, I didn't write down who it was, which is typical me. But yeah, look, once that happened, that's when Salford collapsed. But like you said, too, Leeds, a couple of penalty goals, a couple of late tries, put them in a comfortable victory.
And that yellow card belonged to Sitaleki Akawala.
There you go.
So that it was. Well, we talked about key matchups. This is key as well, because Leeds have that draw or to their name as well. A win for them, they can leapfrog Castleford should they go down to the Catalan Dragons and try and put some daylight between 7th and down the 9th.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict, isn't it? It's unbelievable. Every team that's around, I think, will be hoping that they get the win and the results go go their way. But it's like that in that whole little group. They'll be thinking that.
Like I said, for and against is everything. Leeds have got positive, for and against of 39 to Castle's negative 15. But with the Tigers is in a precarious position where there's a chasing pack of 4 clubs behind them, and Catalan at least 3 wins clear ahead of them. Every single game from this point onwards is crucial, and we've. You know what? Let's actually take a look at the matches over the next month. First with Cass, and we'll go on to Leeds, because it's always so important to understand what you're up against right here. So, for the Tigers' case, Catalan at home, Huddersfield away, Warrington away, Salford at home, and then Leeds away. So after tomorrow, or Saturday as is the case because of the time difference, after a Catalan, top 6, excuse me, fighting for survival, top 6 hopeful with a draw, so uneven point.
Yeah.
Means they'll finish on. And then you look at it from Leeds' perspective after a Craven Park, Warrington at home, Huddersfield at home, Catalan away, Castleford at home. So the Rhinos have a good chance with a run of 3 home games and 1 away in the back month of the campaign.
That could help them beating the home ground advantage,
but they would need to get a win here first.
Yeah.
To lock that up. And I think even though they're going to be missing Caesar, Jack Sinfield gets another run. Richie Myler will probably be a chief playmaker in this regard. And they still got most of the backs that performed well for all of them. Key forwards in that performed well for them in the win against Salford. So I'm going to give this to the Leeds Rhinos 7-12.
Yeah, I have to go with you there. Okay, I don't think they'll have anything. They might put up a slight fight, but not much to put up against Rhinos. So yeah, Leeds 7-12.
This has still got a long way to go, and it's going to be very entertaining to watch. Now, on to the Channel 4 game for Sunday's fixtures. Salford at home at the AJ Bell Stadium to the very strong Huddersfield Giants side.
Yeah, it's second consecutive week that Salford get a Channel 4. No, sorry. My bad. Don't listen to me. um, we were just talking about Salfield, wow.
Salfield, wow.
Salford. Thank you.
Bravo. Bravo.
Smart ass. Sorry. Just looking at
You got to do it again?
I was looking at Huddersfield and saying Salford at the same time. So we just spoke about Salford's game, but Huddersfield coming over the top of Hull FC. That was actually a fairly close game.
Hull's early start, especially with Jack Walker getting involved early, that really he put the black and whites on the front foot early.
It was try for try, really. Well, I think it was anyway. But I think it literally come down to in the last few minutes of the match too, where Huddersfield got that last.
The soft underbelly of the black and whites let them down. Because they were in a commanding position and against a very strong Huddersfield side. Let's not mince meat here. But they let themselves down at the back end because of their poor marker defence. That's what let them down.
Yeah, too many times in that match as well. Not just one off here and not one here and there. It was pretty consistent.
Twice.
Or twice.
Very key. Danny Levi for me was the standout player for the Giants. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 94 running meters, 5 tackle breaks, and a line break. He played a big part in Huddersfield's comeback from 16-6 down to 22-16 in victors, making good on mockery of Hull FC's goal line defence.
He certainly did, and he's quick from dummy half as well. You could see him dummy half, next minute he's through and in, or scoring a try where he's through the line and setting up another try. He's just so quick and got good reaction time, you could say.
Well, he definitely reacted well. He beat limp Hull FC defence there. There's no two ways about it. They went limp and they paid the price.
They certainly did.
See what I did there?
Oh my god.
It's cheesy. I know it is cheesy beyond all comprehension, but it's just oh, that's what I did there. And of course, Salford, they'll still be licking their wounds after the lead shellacking, but now they've got an even tougher prospect, especially now the majority, probably barring Ollie Russell, the first choice spine for Ian Watson is now assembled. Lolohea, Price, Farge, Levi, and then maybe Russell, if he gets picked, bench utility.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough task, but can they live up to the occasion? Well, we just don't know. Even I don't know. As a Salford supporter, I still don't know what. We've still got an inconsistency about them. We do hit some form and then we just drop it off again a few weeks later.
Again, 1 win outside the top 6. Huddersfield are at least a win and a draw behind the Wigan Warriors. So we talk about sliding doors moments. Even if Huddersfield do win this, which I think they will, Wigan will still be at least 1 point clear. So even though I say the top 4's pretty much set, reality is there's still a lot of things up for grabs, even inside the top 4.
Yeah, the teams are set, but it's just a matter of where they finish is the question.
And it really depends, because if we look at Huddersfield and Wigan's perspective, their roads could lead very different to one another. And this is, I'm going to paint this picture for you right here. There is the question of home elimination final or a week off and a home semi-final at stake here.
You'll go for the home semi-final.
After this weekend, Huddersfield play host to Castleford, away at Leeds, and then they got both Warrington and Wakefield at home.
You'd think that Warrington and Wakefield should be an easy victories. Yeah.
As for Wigan, they've got Toulouse at home, the champions at home, which would play a huge role in deciding the league leaders' shield. Hull KR away and Catalan at home.
Wow. That Wigan Saints one's gone the biggest one.
That could be a key factor right there.
I reckon
that's the stakes. Because Catalan could easily trip Wigan up if they get a show enough defensive resolve. Of course, Toulouse, who's almost got the best of them all the way back earlier in the year, albeit for the safety of a Harry Smith drop goal.
True.
And of course, you just can't write off the Saints.
No. No, you can't whatsoever.
So just think about that. This race for the playoffs, this hashtag push for the playoffs. Not
Yeah.
everything's set in stone, but generally speaking, it is.
Yeah.
It's like that at Pirates meme. It's like, well, yes, but actually no.
That's pretty much
Just
it.
a couple of formalities. But other than that, I think Salford's defence is a little bit too loose, especially after what the Rhinos did to them. And with hard-working forwards like Yates, Jones, and pretty sure Michael Lawrence was still playing at this point in time. But it is a very reasonable forward pack Huddersfield have got assembled. I got to give the Giants 13+.
Well, it's really what Salford style we get. If we get the one that we did against the Leeds Rhinos, well, then it's going to absolute onslaught. But if we get a Salford side that puts in a solid performance and can, keep the Huddersfield Giants quiet, then Salford might come up top. I did go Salford, but 1-6. I've got a feeling I'm still going to get it wrong, but
Well, you're the one taking the gamble, not me.
Yeah, Salford 1-6. Bit of a gamble.
Now, at the same, moving on to the Monday games, it will see Hull FC host the reigning champions St. Helens at the MKM Stadium in Hull. Of course, the champions, lucky escape, you would have to say, 20-12 winners over the Castlewood Tigers. I honestly think Curtis Sirinen set the pace early for the champions. 116 running meters, 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, and literally running over the top of Greg Eden to score the opening try for the champions at home.
You don't see that very often at all. You don't see Greg Eden get run over very often. He usually runs over other players, not just...
No, Eden just runs as fast as he can and then outstretches defensive lines. That's why he was as Castlewood's top try scorer in 2017.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, he did have a spine that had the likes of Gale, Hardacre, and Benny Roberts also playing in there as well.
Yeah. Which is now not the case. But, yeah, St. Helens, another, like you said, dominant victory. Hull FC, what else can I say about Hull FC? Like, seriously.
It's going to be another ugly display for the Black and Whites, even though the champions are the walking wounded. When you look at that side they had assembled, and now they've lost Ignatius Passy as well. All their strongest artillery pieces, they've lost Regan Grace for the rest of the year, and he's going to rugby union in 2023. Mark Percival's been in and out of the side. Lewis Dodd has been ruled out for the majority of the year. And then, of course, a rotating door or a bench force from Parsi to Wingfield to James Bell to Dan Norman and others, as well as the developing talents of Ben Davies and Jonathan Benison in playing fullback, wing, centre, wherever Christian Wolf can plug a gap. And yet the champions, 18-4 all record to this point. And it's just like, yeah, there's going to be another League Leaders Shield and probably another appearance at Old Trafford on the cards.
More than likely, but they've been disrupted this season, you could say. Like you said, Christian Wolf plugging in holes where possible.
And it was sort of the same story last year, because I think after Theo Barge went down at the Challenge Cup final last year, everyone thought, oh, surely Saints aren't go 3 in a row when their first choice scrum half is gone for the rest of the year. And then sure enough, Lewis Dodd, next man up, and they win.
Yeah. You're right, you're next off the production line. Here you go. Here's a shot.
And the shot taken, Lewis Dodd's got a grand final ring to his name.
Yep.
And Theo Barge, well, Tottenham appearance this year and chance of a home elimination final. But with the prospect of having to travel to either Wigan or St. Helens, it's daunting.
Oh, yes, it is. Very much so. And just like any team, even like...
That's right. Highest ranked side, highest ranked side has to travel to the home with the second in place team, and the lowest has to face the league leaders. So at this point, their opposition is the Leeds Rhinos. So they would have to face Wigan in this circumstance. Otherwise, their season would be over.
Yeah.
But if Leeds get up, another semi-final meeting with St. Helens at home.
If that happens.
If in that scenario, and if this top 6 stays as is, which it won't.
No way.
But the Saints just find a way to keep on winning. And I suppose that's why they are the best side in Super League, still, to this point. Gunning for history-making 4th title in a row.
It's still a long way only a month to go, and it's still a tough run. Well, not a tough run home, but there's got a tough opposition like in the Wigan Warriors coming up. It's not going to be easy for them though, and like you said, they're walking wounded. So,
but if
whether or not
they only just need a couple of good weeks to put some form together, and they've got a very reasonable draw to do so with. After this meeting at Hull KR at home, of course, Wigan away, which could be pivotal in deciding league leadership. We've probably repeated that too many times. Wakefield at home and Toulouse at home. But I got to go with the champions 7-12 here against Hull.
I'm going to go St. Helens 13+. I don't think Hull will have a single chance, considering the performance that they put in last time out.
And finally, we've got Wakefield up against the Wigan Warriors, of course. Liam Marshall, 3 tries, 1 try assist, 175 running meters, 1 tackle break, 1 line break, and an offload to his name.
Can I just say, I know it was a no try, but if that was a try from Bevan French in the corner, how spectacular was that? It got denied, obviously, but that would have been a spectacular try. He did a front roll over one of the defensive players there, but...
Well, again, Wigan were challenged early, but they absorbed the pressure, and then they just put Warrington to the sword.
Yeah, which is pretty much what Wigan have been doing all year.
After Ben Curry went aerial for his first try, that was all she wrote. As it practically, they were trailing by 2 at the break, and then they just ran over Warrington in the second half with practically 4 unanswered tries within the first 5 minutes of starting back.
Which is absolutely nuts. Like, seriously, how often do you see that happen? Well, if you're a top side against a team that's not going so well this year, well, yeah.
But just, they turn it around, a perfect 40 from Wigan, holding Warrington to 0, and Liam Marshall having a field day. Nice change to not say Jai Field or Bevan French as your standout player. Because
it is a bit of a change.
Because I've recently put all the NRL players into a spreadsheet. I've done all the NRL rounds, and every time I pick the standout player, to see how many times I've actually picked the same player over and over again.
Geez, I wonder if a certain St. Helens player with the name of Alex Formsel would be having a few if you were doing the Super League.
He wouldn't be the only one.
But that's the first one that comes to mind.
It's a time-consuming process to set the spreadsheet up, set it up, go back through all the notes you have written to this point, leave the Challenge Cup out of the equation because they don't provide stats.
No.
But just the league alone, and you just go through from B to double alphabet letters. That's exactly what you're looking at, and see from there.
Yeah.
But this is just... Wakefield might as well just put an L next to their name right now because Wigan are going to steamroll them 13+.
Unless a miracle happens and they pull off like key players like Field or French or whatever, and Wakefield do come back like they did against Catlads. But I don't think that's going to happen because they're still well within the chance of the League Leaders Shield. And I have to say, Wigan Warriors will destroy Wakefield 13+.
And just quickly mentioning it back to Hull KR, Frankie Holton was my standout player. 1 try, 1 try assist, 111 running meters, 7 tackle breaks, and a single offload. With that being the final note, it is full time from us here at the Sideline Chat podcast. If you like this part or the NRL part you listened to probably a couple of hours ago, make sure you leave this one a like, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to give us a follow on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram is at Sideline Chat, and on Twitter is at Sideline Chat RL, which is also one of our hashtags alongside Side Chat YT. Hope you enjoy all the league action And tonight and tomorrow from whichever side of the world you're watching. And we'll be back to you next Wednesday with more Rugby League. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat podcast. We'll see you next week.
Catch you.